Hello, you out there. My name is George Wilkinson, and I'd like to welcome you to the Global Scholar YouTube channel. On this channel, what I do is that I share about study abroad tips. I share about how to secure offers from some of the leading educational institutions in the world. I share about scholarship information and the steps to applying for these scholarships. I also share about travel advice, grant information, free courses, and more. And so if you love stuff like this, consider subscribing. In this video today, I'm talking about 5 countries that are offering post-study work visas. Now, I think that this is a very, very important topic that needs to be discussed. There are several students, several individuals who are looking to further their studies abroad, and this has become, something they are looking at critically in their consideration of where to go and study. Education abroad can be quite expensive. The tuition fees, living expenses, healthcare, etc. It can be quite expensive, and so it's only fair that students look out for the opportunity or the option to work, gain some experience, and to be able to pay off some of these debts. A recent study revealed that about 40% of students actually are considering the availability or the option of post-study work visas before applying to any country to go and study. This has become a very important point for consideration for international student hopefuls all over the world. So if you are thinking of studying abroad, I've put together a list of 5 countries that are currently offering post-study work visas. And if you're ready, let's just dive into the video. Okie dokie, so let's start off with country number 1, which is New Zealand. Now, New Zealand is a beautiful country that is southeast of Australia, and they offer a considerate period of their post-study work visas. Not only are the conditions generous, but you can also support visas for your spouse and your children. However, you can access this visa only once, unless you complete another qualification that takes at least 30 weeks to complete. Now, students who completed distance learning or off-campus qualification by a provider in Auckland are still entitled to the same post-study work visas given to on-campus students. Now, the length of stay varies between 1 to 3 years depending on your qualification and where you studied, and if you opt for occupational registration such as teaching certificate. The acceptable qualifications range from level 4 all the way up from a New Zealand Educational Institute, with 4 being a certificate and 10 being a doctoral degree. Moving on to number 2, country number 2 is Canada. In this land of maple syrup, students who have graduated from a designated learning institute or institution can apply for a postgraduate work permit, the PGWP, to work for any employer for as many hours they wish and anywhere in Canada. Now, the PGWPs are valid for between 8 months to 3 years and are a great way to obtain a valuable Canadian work experience. Once an applicant has the work experience in Canada, it opens a lot of opportunities to obtain a Canadian permanent resident. Now, a PGWP can take anywhere from between 80 to 180 days to process. And while waiting for your PGWP, you are free to work in Canada, provided you applied prior to the expiry date of your student permit. You have 180 days to apply for a PGWP from the date you completed the requirements of your program of study. Now, moving on to country number 3, the United Kingdom. Yes. Now, until recently, international students in the United Kingdom could only stay for just 4 months after graduation before packing up and leaving the country. However, major changes have been made with the post-study work visa, aka graduate route, being introduced in 2020. Now, the UK government has introduced these reforms to ensure that the UK remains an attractive destination for study abroad students. The length of stay is 2 years for graduates and 3 years for PhD graduates. This new reform applies to international students on a Tier 4 visa who are enrolled in 2020 or after, graduate from a recognized higher education provider. The downside, however, is that dependents of the post-study work visa holders who are not with the applicant or who are not with the applicant and are not on the applicant's Tier 4 study visa will not be eligible to be covered in this new scheme. Moving on to country number 4, Australia. Australia offers the temporary graduate visa subclass 485. This post-study work stream is designed for international students who have recently graduated with a degree level qualification from an Australian educational establishment. Now, this visa enables holders to stay in Australia to live and to work. The visa is typically granted for between 2 and 4 years, depending on your qualification. Now, the length of stay granted on your visa is also based on the type of course you completed, which is as follows. So, a bachelor's degree leads to 2 years, a master's degree by coursework leads to 2 years, a master's by research leads to 3 years, and a doctoral degree 4 years. Now, this visa is not extendable, but you will be able to switch to another skilled work visa once you have a job before it expires. The post-study visa allows applicants to include dependent family members on the application, and these family members do not need to apply separately. Now, moving on to the last country, the United States of America. Now, international students in the USA with an F1 visa have the option to apply for the Optional Practical Training, the OPT. The OPT is a student visa extension which allows eligible international students to work in the US for up to 1 year after completing their studies. Now, STEM graduates get an additional 2 years. Now, this temporary pass allows international students to remain in the US, apply for jobs, and find a company to sponsor their employment visa. Alright guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope this provided value. I hope it cleared some stuff up for you, and it really gave you some perspective as to which country would be a preferred destination for you. Now let me know in the comment section which country you would love to study in. If you have any questions, be sure to also pop it in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer all your questions. Now you can follow me on my social media handles on TikTok, on Instagram. The handle is on your screen here somewhere. Also, I'd like to tell you about my podcast. Yes, I have a podcast, the Global Scholar Podcast, which is available on all podcast streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, all the podcast streaming platforms. This podcast, is a student engagement section where I invite students over. We have a conversation about student life, the experiences of students, the ups, the downs, the lows, and everything in between. So yes, be sure to check out this brand new podcast that I have. Link in the description box if you want to check it out. Also, if you're a student out there and you would love to be featured on this podcast, yes, reach out to me in the comment section, send me a message, and I can arrange for a session with you. Okay, I hope you loved this video. If you loved it, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this channel right now, and I'll catch you in the next video. My name is George Wilkinson. Peace. Bye-bye.